Hello, welcome, 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 welcome. Ooh, I didn't change the name. Okay, let's do that. Okay, perfect. So, where's the clock? I'm going to get this reading done in not as long as I've been taking on all these readings. And this is gonna be my first one, and I'm gonna be just as efficient, or I'm gonna get all the messages across without rushing. And this is how I'm gonna do it now. Let's see if I succeed. Of course, every chart is different. Some charts it's just impossible to not, really, really go deep. Like I go deep in every chart, but yeah. So we've got a 26-degree, excuse me, Libra Sun with the Moon in Sag on the midheaven, and your Aquarius rising with Saturn rising. Very important. So let me get my aspect grid up. There's not too many aspects or important aspects. There's actually really only one. Well, yeah. Let me just double check that with my eyes real quick because sometimes it lies to me because they have different orbs, and I also need to check one other thing. Okay, so it's just the reading. So you didn't get the follow up or the okay, gotcha. So essentially, yeah. The moon over here, so two mutable. Okay. So yeah, it's just the conjunction with the midheaven with the moon, and then the square with Uranus, which is over there. Okay, interesting. So, let's just share the screen. Why don't we? Yeah. And I'm gonna turn my camera off. Not like to where just it's something that I've done in a few readings. And I don't know. I find it quite. Ooh, I just have two. I find it quite relaxing, but I don't know. I'm just random like that. Last one I did was like literally like my face the whole time. One before that was just like back and forth with um back and forth with me being on camera, being off. But yeah, sometimes I like to just lay back and meditate, have my crystals and turn the lights off and walk in circles. I'm that kind of learner. Anyways, okay, this isn't good for my time. Not that I'm in a rush or anything, but yeah. So very important here is that you have a Sag moon like myself. Um, you're an Aquarius rising, your sun's in Libra, and then your North Node is in Cancer in the sixth. You have a lot up here in this kind of Libra, Scorpio, Sag sector, 9th, 10th, 11th for you respectively, in the whole signs that is. You're born in Illinois. Okay. So starting with the sun and the moon, both in signs that work well together. The signs, even though the angles do not sextile, the signs sextile. So it just it gives like a smooth kind of energy. And then it's the same thing with the ascendant. You see it goes 2, 2, 2, right? Like Libra, skip Scorpio, Sag. And your moon's there. Sag, skip Capricorn, Aquarius. Your ascendant. So if the angles, if like the degrees were correct, um it would be what's called a mini grand trine. But um you know, regardless, because it's these three important points, it just speaks to um the three most important parts of your energy being very much in alignment. Now I must say though that having Saturn rising, even if it's an Aquarius, is going to make the rising feel a lot more like Capricorn/Aquarius. It's actually quite a difficult placement, excuse me, to have Saturn on your ascendant, because um, what happens is that at least for the first 30 years, and you're 63, okay, so you've been through, yeah. So yeah, Saturn return was a long time ago, so it's not something that's currently affecting you, is what I was um looking at. But basically, Saturn is restrictive, and when you have it on the ascendant, you can come off as like very like cold, very serious. Um, and you are a Sag moon, which is like I think I just said that. Yeah, I'm a Sag moon too, so I know what it's like. It can be the life of the party, but it just Sag moons are the best. I know it's biased, and I don't say that about my other placements, but it really is my favorite moon sign. Because like anything is possible for Sag moons, right? Um, and they're very expansive. They're very much about, you know, gaining wisdom. Um, and they can turn a negative situation into a positive better than any other moon sign. Now, sometimes it's done so much to where it's a detriment, because they could have actual trauma that happens to them, and they don't actually like let's say like something, let's not say horrible, but something bad happens, right? They could kind of be like, yeah, well, this is a lesson for me not to, you know to trust people, or something like that. And they can do that, and it sounds good, but I believe it's actually a defense mechanism, uh for a defense mechanism with the goal of kind of keeping them away from truly um feeling what happened, because it's ruled by Jupiter, so it creates a very yeah, someone, like I said, is very optimistic, very shiny within, always looking for deeper meaning within themselves. Now, the fact that it's on your midheaven makes your moon extra strong. It would make you want to express. So Sagittarius is also about high philosophy. It's about different cultures. It's about really what I call, quote unquote, the truth, right? So the Sag moon people, like me and you, um, are fond of travel, different cultures, and anything that can improve our worldview. We and it goes for relationships and people too. Um, we need freedom, so we're extreme freedom seekers, and if we don't get it, like, we're gonna get our freedom, like, whether it's in relationships, whatever arena of life it's in. If that doesn't happen, then it's bad news. So, the Sag moon overall very, very positive, and it will add a lot of of kind of like inner cheerfulness and just positivity to um the Aquarius rising with Saturn on it. Because when you have a Saturn rising, like I said, like, even if you are an Aquarius moon, which is at your core, you are someone who likes to have fun and likes to enjoy life and likes to grow. It can kind of dim some of that, right? It can make because, like, your ascendant is your how you come off, it's your personality, how you come off to other people. So when you have that, um it can kind of make you seem a little bit gloomy and a little bit when you're not, right? Like a little bit like a little bit negative, and yeah, so that would be, I think, probably one part of the chart that might be difficult, is like, because like Aquarius rising on their own is very unconventional. They'll be the person with purple hair or whatever, but Saturn kind of adds a layer of like responsibility and yeah, seriousness to that. But sometimes they won't smile as much, especially when younger. They can be picked on, um, and sometimes there's like early in life there's like health concerns, or health stuff that happens, health stuff. But after 30 they open up a lot, um, and the ways in which their self-expression was restricted in, because that's the essence of Saturn rising, is that it does kind of create like a very serious stern kind of self-expression, but it loosens up a lot after 30. With Saturn, everything gets better with age with Saturn. So yeah, I think like there could be some confusion there with the Sag moon, because like when people, see you, maybe this is more the past, but it doesn't go away. It's also really, really good for success to have Saturn rising, like, for like work and all that stuff. Like, it'll make someone just like appear very responsible, like the elder. But you might, like, for relationships, it might be difficult, because like friendships, relationships, because you might come off as way more serious, which is kind of, you know, cool in its own sense, right? Because you might come off as way more serious than you truly are. So people might like see you and expect, and you have to add the Aquarius in there. So that's kind of like that flair, Uranus ruling your chart. So the unconventionality, but Saturn's the opposite of that. Saturn is very conventional, right? It literally is it's the sign that, or the planet that relates to tradition. So there's this kind of back and forth, uh, tradition, non-tradition. So Uranus rules your chart, and it is in the 8th house. Wow, with Vertex and Pluto. So you are a downloader. You are someone that receives downloads from who knows where. And they help you kind of, and it's in Virgo. So Mika, get away from my computer. So you receive downloads that push you towards your destiny, um, towards higher awareness, right? When you're able to kind of like really live a spiritual life and really get into your spiritual um mode, if you want to call it that. I know there's a better word for that, but yeah, get into like really, really, really get like be on your spiritual path. Um, yeah, there, like, you'll receive downloads, like where you'll just know things, especially when meditating or when sleeping. And I know the 12th house is more about that, but just like, when you're balanced, um, you can just expect to just like have things just come to you, right? So that's really, really cool. Um, Aside from that, Pluto's also there. So, naturally, like, this lifetime is really about the different, like, distinguishing between the ego's desires and the soul's needs, right? there's a big need to go in deep in this and to really figure out what that means for you. There can be all kinds of tendencies, polarities. The polarities I meant to say, not tendencies, around power and powerlessness. And overall, an eighth house Pluto person is someone who, I mean, that's the house you want Pluto in. There's someone who is extremely resourceful, who understands that, in order to truly grow on a psychological level, they need to go deep within their unconscious, and that it isn't always pretty, but that is, what is needed. So, yeah, that's why it's in its best position there. And the sign doesn't matter so much. With Pluto, it's more generational. I mean, it matters. It's just like not like the signs that really matter are the personal planets, the big six plus Jupiter in there. But the house placements really matters in the aspects for the outers. So interesting. Yeah, already like the eighth house is where the ruling planet is in conjunct the vertex, because to me, I think that also relates to humanitarianism, and to goals that you reach with like-minded people for the betterment of the planet and just for you, also. But yeah, there's tremendous transformation when you are able to truly go into your shadow. Now, as a Sag moon, this isn't necessarily easy, right? Sag moon is like all about seeing the bright side. I'm not saying that Sag moons are incapable of darkness. They definitely are not. And in Vedic astrology, you would have a Scorpio moon. So take that. But it's different in Vedic, so it's not the same. It's basically like they're broken up into what's called nakshatras, and they're lunar mansions. So each zodiac sign has 2.5 nakshatras in there, and they're usually very different. I'm not a Vedic astrologer. I never claimed to be, but I did learn about it for a little bit. But yeah. So carrying on. Interesting how the North Node is in Cancer. North Node is pretty much what I base my readings on. You have Chiron in the second house in Pisces. So there's definitely some spiritual wound, but also the potential to be a spiritual teacher. So already, right off the bat, I can tell this is a chart of someone who, in this lifetime, is meant to go deeper. Now, South Node in Capricorn, the 12th, is interesting because the 12th house is a very deep house. But I think that would speak to perhaps the there being more of an emphasis on the masculine energies in past lives than the feminine, and I need to kind of balance that out in this lifetime. But overall, I also think about that, and also there could have been like a recent gender switch. So some people who have that, they feel more like Like they can sometimes associate more with the opposite sex. But yeah, overall, the 12th house is the house of endings, and have a south node there. It could also denote that, like, and let's see, the square is a square Mercury. Yeah, exactly. So, and Jupiter. So in some respect, you lost your sense of like true meaning in past life, or in the past life we're dealing with now. So you lost your sense of like true meaning, and because of that, Capricorn is all about business and, this and that. So because of that, you kind of overcompensated in that area, in the area of like kind of material, all that. So one quick second. Where's my, okay. Let me pause this for you. Okay. Back at it. Ooh, clock. So, as I was saying, there is a certain energy here, relating to like how I would say like the square of Mercury, it would relate to introjects and self-limiting beliefs um from past lives that have been um brought into this life. The Mercury is in Libra, which can be it can be a very people pleasing um Mercury placement. Now, excuse me, being a Libra, you have to know that, I mean, I'm sure you know that the two most negative associations with Libra are indecisiveness and people pleasing, right? Which can lead to them, or not to them being fake, but to people seeing them that way. Um, so yeah, with the Mercury there squaring the nodes in Capricorn and in Cancer, there's something in relation to the mental cognitive life that is out of balance. It is it's off, right? It could be many things. But with the South Node in the 12th house, I'm getting this vibe of self-delusion. And with the square to Jupiter, which is about meaning and truth, I believe that that's why you're a Sag moon in this life, because you were lied to in a past life. Like, look at like the conditioning that so much of mainstream society is in, right? Today. Um, you could see why that would cause one. I assume that you're not like that. Um, you could see how that could cause one to sort of lose any sense of meaning, right? If yeah, if society is so rigid and I don't know, it just like, yeah, there's the lack of of true purpose. So, I think that you were lied to, whether it was by, the prevailing conditioning in your society. It could have been anything, but what matters is that in this life, you're really here to find the truth. That's one thing. So, as a Sag moon traveling, anything that is expanding, where you're expanding, very important. Um, so yeah, the Mercury, I see it a lot. The Mercury skip step, and it really, really comes down to the often overly rigid thinking patterns, right? Overly rigid, overly self-critical, like especially in Capricorn. Now it's all clicking very, 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 very much. In Capricorn, it's very hard. It's a sign that's very self-critical. Okay, now this is fully the past life story is making complete sense. So the self-critical nature um kept you in a delusion that kept you away from the true essence of like when I see a 12th house, like and it could also have been addiction. I see 12th house South Node, I don't think mystic usually. Like with like if there's no squares maybe, but with the squares, I think I think that and it is trine Venus, so I'm not ruling out the mystic. I'm just saying my readings are for growth. I'm not a astrologer that's just gonna yeah, you're perfect, everything's perfect. Like I just say what I see. I hope that people appreciate that. Because also you do have nice Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus aspect to the nodes and Venus. So actually there is a certain element of like I think that you are someone who I think you're a soul who's naturally curious, um, who naturally wants to break free. You know what? You know what another possibility of this is? This could be a so that was one possibility I was telling you about, like kind of just being locked up psychologically, or you are imprisoned. Capricorn represents prisons. 12th house represents prisons, I mean. Capricorn is like solid, it's so where to go? Uh, okay, so I was saying you could truly be dealing with this energy, right? Of but like it doesn't matter. Let me go back to the way I was doing before I was in my zone. Um, it doesn't really matter that much if it is you know, physically or metaphorically. What matters is the idea and the concept of being locked up and and how that hardened you and how that kept you away from truth and kind of led to a loss of faith. Um, and how in this lifetime you're trying to regain that, and the way you regain that with the North Node in in Cancer is through family, but it's also through cultivating a deep spiritual relationship with yourself and being of service. Your moon's 11th house. So there's a deep yearning to be of service in your life to humanity, right? Your ruling planet of your chart's Uranus. You're here to stand out also. So yeah, the teachings that you followed in past lives, there's unresolved material around those. And yeah, like a conflict of how the truth had been perceived by you, right? But like it could also be that which is very societal or an inner lie, right? Um, so I always see this one as like a crisis a karmic crisis of faith. Um, and like a real conflict that the self has with their understanding of quote unquote the truth, right? And that something kind of led you astray, some kind of conditioning. Um, and really as a Sag moon, the goal of a Sag moon is to understand your place in the grand scheme of things, to understand the answer to the three big questions, right? Where do we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? Right? So yeah, interesting. A lot of times also with this square with the Mercury, I see like internalized shame, internalized guilt. Um, yeah, so it's really important for you to like really look at your beliefs, like yourself, if there's any self-limiting beliefs, and maybe have a writing exercise where you really like write down, um, and you can do it over months. These things don't just come to you, but to have it conscious, like how do I limit myself? Like for example, like the belief that because Sag moons generally they want to believe and they do believe that anything is possible for them at any time. And because Uranus, the 11th house is in your chart, it's interesting that people, I'm not calling you old, okay? I'm just saying, um, of my clients, people who are born, you know, let's say like between like 55 and, or even like, yeah, even just in the 60s in general. Um, it's interesting to me because the 11th house, Aquarius, or Uranus, Aquarius, when that's emphasized in a chart, a lot of times, like some of the most important life purpose comes later in life. I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, with the Mercury, yeah, really looking at there could also have been like, any communication issues. One big one is like trusting the opinion of others. Because there's the possibility of in a past life or in past lives having been lied to. Um, and that having had horrible consequences. So, you're trying to really kind of the North Node in Cancer and also South Node in Capricorn, there's almost like this there can be like a kind of masochistic, is that the word I masochistic um leaning. So it's important to understand that it's very important to lean into the feminine, in this lifetime. And yeah, lean into the feminine. And many gifts, many gifts await in that arena of existence, right? Of going into your emotions, of not repressing, right? So yeah, I mean it's like sixth house is a North Node in the sixth house person needs to have a really solid routine that meets, especially in Cancer, that meets their emotional needs. um and that can take on such a deep meaning, right? um such deep meaning. It's incredible. um like also pets can be very pets can be something that have like an extreme spiritual impact on you. Very karmic pets. um that's important. um and just like being of service, like I think that like just you your ability to be of service is what really kind of waters the garden of your soul, per se, right? So that's really, really important stuff. um so with the ninth house sun, that is, Sagittarian energy in itself. And it makes it so the air, once again, traveling. So like there's a lot of Sagittarian energy here is very, very important. Um, and just, once again, it comes down to that whole truth, truth, finding the ultimate truth. That's like I said, it's been skipped over in a past life or in the past life karma that you're dealing with in this lifetime. And now you need that freedom. You need to find that. So interesting. Mm. Yeah, ninth house suns, in Libra. I don't really go into sun signs here, about your sun sign. Um, but it's conjunct Juno, so it's going to give you the more charm that you already have as a Libra, which is very interesting. Just finishing my kombucha. Um, but yeah, so you like to surround yourself with people who, you know, probably from like people from different cultures fascinate you. People who just have all kinds of philosophical outlooks. Um, that is very important for you. And hmm, 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 hmm. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Hmm. So yeah, I think the fact that you have um Saturn your ascendant is very interesting because you have Mercury trine Saturn, which by the way is really, really, really good for intelligence because Saturn reflects memory. And Mercury, as we know, is the brain. So that is pretty cool. That's a trine that that individual typically has is able to really apply what they learn. Um, and it's one of the indicators I look for intelligence. So nice job being smart. Um, so also you have Pallas exact conjunction with Jupiter, with Mercury. So that is like weird. I don't really talk. I don't know what it is, but okay. So Pallas and Mercury are like two. Pallas is not um as important as Mercury, obviously, but it's kind of like a mini Mercury, but more of like a spiritual kind of third eye version of it. So basically, when you have that conjunction, um, it makes you a very great strategizer. Um, and you also can be someone who merges your spiritual intelligence with your everyday intelligence and logic, which in Libra. So compromise, it makes you like very good at like engaging in delegation, in diplomacy. It's very good for business. All this Libra. It's the scales, it's commerce. And it also typically makes a good storyteller. Someone who can create like a campaign that appeals to people, you know? Um, like a spokesperson type thing. Like you know what people like kind of want to hear. Um, and as a Libra air sign, you know, you that gives you the ability to really put yourself in other people's shoes. So it's a nice one. It really gives a lot of creativity. lot, creative inspiration and yeah. So I think there's like also like it can be like telepathic the potential abilities because Pallas rules the pineal gland, right? So to have Mercury, the messenger of the gods, conjunct that, it goes back to what I was saying about downloads from spirit. So, yeah, it's really interesting. Really good, really, really, really good for just communication in general. And both of those together allow you with the sun to really, in the Sag moon, to really, really be able to zoom out and see the big picture and not get caught in the everyday anxieties. You have that real talent. It's such a blessing to have that. I have that too, and it's amazing. So besides that, it's really good for like understanding patterns and information. Um, Mental dexterity. Finally, that word came to me. So yeah, strategic. I already talked about that. Yeah, it's good. And because yeah, so it's nice energy. Nice energy. Okay. Okay. So I guess Juno, we'll talk about that after. So your 10th house is filled with Scorpio. But we understand kind of how like the Libra goes well with the Sag because they're, air and fire, both masculine planets. Um, Libra's all about fairness and I'm not gonna go into it. But you understand it. I hope. I think you do know what the Libra sun is. The thing I just say is like you always gotta watch out for yeah, the boundaries and it's just really important to understand that um a lot of Libras have issues with saying no and boundaries and all that. So, leaning into the opposite sign of Aries is very important. Aries does not give up. Yeah. Anyways, so okay, so the moon square Uranus is very interesting. Um, Also moon is conjunct Mars. Eh, yeah, it is, but Mars and Scorpio. Wow. So just moon square Uranus is like the one aspect in your chart that's like really like big deal. Um, as a Sag moon, it just makes you super rebellious. And it can also make your emotions kind of like swing back and forth. There can be some like instability with emotions. So grounding yourself is very important, but not always easy. Not always easy. Um, hmm. Yeah, it's just like the thing with Moon square Uranus, a lot of times the people who have that they a lot of times I see it in like divorced people whose parents are divorced. Not always though, not exclusively, but a lot of times they have like a very unconditional upbringing. Um, and they experience their mother oftentimes as like kind of up and down, like not really knowing what to expect, which could lead to an anxious attachment style when bringing psychology into it. Um, but yeah, experiencing the mother in that way usually leads to the child or to the individual being quite hard to pin down. And as a Sag moon, freedom means everything. So if there's ever anyone who's trying to control you in any way, bye bye. They are not lasting. No chance. No chance at all. And if you were in that type of relationship, I just don't think you'd be happy. Um, sorry, I keep making this noise. It's the start of allergies, and I haven't taken any allergy. Okay, last time medication, but this is what's happening. This is what's happening. So with the Sag Moon, Midheaven, you want your philosophies and your like you want your dharma and your career to be very linked to that, to your growth in respect to those three questions in your worldview overall. Um, and working with people also. And then with the Mars on the moon, that means that you're able um to kind of put your emotions into action. Really good. So as a Sag moon, you might be someone who's able to say, okay, I want to travel. I'm gonna make it happen. You know, or I want to learn this. I want to, do this. I want to do that. It can create emotional impulsivity, especially in a fire sign, but overall, it's good. So the sun is unaspected, right? Yeah. Um, Wait, no, it's not. Wait, yeah, it is. Well, it's square the nodes. I use loose degrees for that. And that is really about how it goes back to what I was saying before, like your core individuality, like got really held back in the karma lifetime that you're dealing with right now, lifetime or lifetime, so you're really like in this hero's journey lifetime, like 1,000%. And you're meant to go through it, perhaps even like at odds with other people in your life. Like there could be a sense of isolation to it. It's really like, yeah, the Joseph Campbell hero's journey type energy for this lifetime. So yeah, really, I just did a reading that had that. Interesting. It always happens to me where I get very similar themes from back to back readings. Even though like your reading was not next in the line, I just had like pulled my 7 or 8 next readings, and I was like, okay, I just did one. I want one that I just get right away. You know, I wanted one that I'm not gonna call it easy. I just wanted one that I knew I would be able to handle, like, very easily for me, based on like on the mood I'm in, and based on not the mood I'm in, based on many factors, but my own experience and blah blah blah. Just I don't know. Just looking at the chart, the one that like called out to me, it was this one. So yeah, in this life, there's a big time like need to be different and to find your voice. Jupiter third house Aries, you're meant to express yourself, or you're meant to not hold back when it comes to that, right? To just let it out, and to be a leader, and to, you know, even if it's something that is, you not so mainstream, to just follow your heart. So important. I did it again. You know, I think we're gonna be good. Um, one warning with Jupiter opposite Mercury is to not bite off more than you can chew, and precisely to not promise, to ground yourself before you make any type of promises, to really really think about things, because there is a potential for making too many promises. So, and then, like Superman Superwoman syndrome, you make too many of them, and then it's like, oh well, I can't yeah, I can't hold true to this. So yeah, better to not do that. So, hmm. So the more you can be of service, the better it is for you. The more that you learn about yourself and your own emotions, which is extremely important. Um, I've given up on this third thing. So I haven't even talked about your Scorpio side. Um, so your Scorpio is 10th house, so it's very linked to your Dharma, right? You have the extremely strong Scorpio Mars. Also, I forgot to say, with your Mercury in Libra, it's trine Jupiter. That is actually, no, excuse me. It is opposite Jupiter. It's trine Saturn. I already talked about that. That's one about intelligence. Okay, your Venus is very well aspected, and your Mars is unaspected, as is your Sun. That is crazy. Wow. So to have those two unaspected is quite something. So with this unaspected Sun, you have to really um watch your ego. I'm not saying that to you specifically. I'm saying that just as kind of like an energy that's not being held back. But Libras tend to hold themselves back. They tend to think of like, okay, is me saying this going to affect? They are. So if your sun was Aries or Leo, it would be a lot different. but it can increase like the challenges and the strengths of the sun. But lots of charisma. So it's very good for success. But then it can also make one at times, and I think Libra would probably be one of the better signs to have an unaspected sun in, like unaware of when they take more than they give, that kind of thing. Like self-centered, all that kind of stuff. So with Mars, this is the most noticeable one because Mars is your action, and your Mars is in what? Actually, Mars is conjunct Moon, so we can't say it's unaspected. I mean, it's 8 degrees, but they're in different signs. Let's just talk about it, and if you resonate, you can tell me, or you have a follow up. You should get a follow up if you like this reading. I highly advise you to message me and to book a follow up and current astrology / spiritual alignment. It's one session. You could just do the follow up, which it's normally 150. I would do for 120. An hour we go over everything, your lived experience. Remember that this whole thing, this is just potential. I need to know about how you manifested it, right? The best thing you can do is do that plus the current astrology. And normally the price for those two would be around like $530, $550. But I would do it for so I would do it for, let me think. The lowest I can go for 390. Yeah, for 390. And that becomes a 3 hour plus session. And the first hour is the follow-up. And hours 2, and then we seamlessly move into the current astrology. How it's like the energetic weather, I talk about transits, I talk about progressions, I talk about all these things that I don't know your level of astrology knowledge, but I mix that in with my psychology expertise, or I have 2 masters in it, and just conversation. The goal is to, and there's not like everyone leaves those feeling aligned spiritually. I know it sounds cheesy, but like that's just the truth, because I care, and yeah. So anyways, let me know if you're interested in that, and would love to do that for you. Okay, moving forward. So an unaspected Mars, it can just make someone like they can be like anger issues, but they're very, very assertive. Sometimes like aggressive, quick. Uh, Come on, Jesse, think of this word: quick-tempered, feisty. So it's always very, very obvious, right? Now, because it is an unaspect, because it's conjunct your moon, even though your moon's a different sign, I mean, there still could be that effect, but this is the thing: Mars in Scorpio is a major placement. People who have Mars in Scorpio, they like Scorpio is in its best position in Scorpio for the psychological aspect of it, and in Aries for its physical aspect, right? So people who have Mars in Scorpio are they just, it's not that they become Scorpios, but they kind of do. Like they might not have anything else in Scorpio, but it doesn't matter, you know? It doesn't matter at all. So it can dominate a chart in a sense, right? It can dominate the chart. And the reason why is that it is the ultimate spiritual warrior aspect. The inner psychologist, the person who will probe deeper and deeper. It is the last person that you want as your enemy because they never forget. And yeah, I mean, Mars and Scorpio is just extremely strong energy, you know. How else can I say it? Extremely strong energy, and you know, it's very sexual too. I have to say it because it's the truth. Um, and it creates kind of just like this mega endurance, you know, for the individual. Um, and they're very, very drawn because it's in your 10th house, so it could relate to your career. They're very drawn to anything that is beneath the surface. Um, right? That's really important to know. Very drawn to anything that is beneath the surface. Um, they they can have a tendency to to really just want to just go deeper and deeper and deeper into whatever it is that they have any interest in. So you know, like this is like one of the best placements for like a psychologist, for example, or for a crime detective or for a researcher, you know. But they have to really be passionate about whatever this is. Um, and Mars, yeah, connected to your moon. Yeah, it's interesting because they're in different signs. So that one I would have to kind of speak with you, and I forgot there's no follow up. If there becomes a follow up, it'd be interesting to hear about that experience. But yeah, um, in the 10th house, Mars activates over the career in the Dharma, and it pushes one to be very ambitious, and it pushes one to want to really transform. Like they'll go through like different transformations. And with your midheaven in Sag, there's definitely the potential for having, more than one career throughout your life, um, or multiple at once. Um, different phases of life. Mars and Scorpio, it pushes one towards this like shadow work and towards this transformation that most people run away from. And that's it's linked to your North Node, right? North Node have I really laid down what North Node is? North Node is so important. It's like your destiny point, is like the part of your chart that represents that represents um like where you're meant to go. So the mountain never climbed in past lives, right? That you're trying to get to in this life. That's the North Node. And yeah. So your Mars, it helps you get there. Also, Mars and Scorpio people, they have this built-in lie detector. And sometimes they can be quite dramatic in relationships and stuff. And yeah, they have strong desires that and they can be very, very strategic around getting what they want. The lower energy of it is like using manipulation, power struggles, all that kind of stuff, like the lower Scorpio stuff, the Machiavellian stuff to kind of get what they want. But the highest energy of it is being able to, to really be a brave voice for for causes they believe in, and to be very successful in, in whatever way they define success. And yeah. And they're, yeah, like I said, they're spiritual warriors. Nothing can ever weigh them down. So moving forward with you know, Vesta and Scorpio in 10th house, you like when you really get into your work, like you are just unstoppable. If there's anything, like you're passionate about, like there's no stopping you. Like you will just literally just go so hard. And yeah, nice. Um, Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio, like me, we're born many years apart. We both have it. Um, so I know this well. So this is like your lowest potential. And in Scorpio, it is basically like manipulation, power struggles, like everything I just started talking about, like which can come from fear of abandonment, which can come from fear of losing control or like it really comes down to how you define power. But Black Moon Lilith is like you at your lowest vibration, what energy can come out. And Scorpio, it can be, saying things, knowing exactly what like what, especially being like a Scorpio Mars, you know exactly how to hurt someone. Like, I feel like you're laughing right now. Or not laughing, just like you're just like, yep. Watching this. But like, you know exactly how like to really affect someone on a deep level. So the Black Moon and Scorpio person, you know, sometimes they can power trip. And they don't like to, as a Libra, they don't like to shake the boat. They like peace. But when things get ugly, they are ready to go there. And Mars in Scorpio, as I said, is a form, you don't want them as your enemy because they are intense and they never give up, and they're very competitive, which is also very, very good for sports, even though it's water sign, or just like having something that, yeah. So Neptune in the 10th house, with Venus conjunct Neptune, that is amazing conjunction. One of the best for creativity and appreciation of the arts. So that's awesome. And the fact that they're in the 10th house could, it could create the Neptune 10th house can create the theme of, spirituality, just compassion playing out in the career, being a big factor in what the individual does for living, or like just their contribution to society. And the Venus conjunct Neptune, I mean, that's just like okay, if today was Venus conjunct Neptune, it's just the most flowy like feeling, like think like, I don't know, just beautiful beach waves or Mozart, or I don't even know. It's the integration of imagination from Neptune and and the, like, it's like I always say, like Van Gogh, the Starry Eye, Starry Night, whatever the name of the painting is. Excuse, I think you're probably Dutch too with your last name, so that sounds good for me. Um, but he had to have the Neptunian imagination to come up with the inspiration, the concept for it, and then the Venus was the application of it. So to have those conjunct gives you both of those, right? Which is amazing. But also in love, so when it comes to love, it can give rose-colored glasses in love. Scorpio Venus is in like rose-colored glasses, meaning like someone who, um, they fall fast, and it's like the honeymoon phase, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna marry this person, and then 2 weeks later they're like, oh, they're a narcissist. I'm not saying that to you. I'm just saying that's like the modern day example. But it can also have created like an identity crisis early in life. So spirituality is like an amazing way to kind of get to know the self. and to really find the self. So yeah. But also Venus in the 10th is very, very good for career just in general. And yeah, it just kind of ensures that beauty, harmony plays a role in your outer life, in your dharma. So it's very, very good. Um, and yeah, potential for if not a career in the arts, um, a real appreciation for it, a real deep, deep ability to, because like, there's not much like, people like you really have to have the right circumstances to be and to really like devote your life to painting. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't have that, dare I say, kind of privilege in today's world. So, but if you did, you would be amazing at it. I'm just saying, not just painting, any kind of art, singing, dancing, you name it. So, then Ceres and Scorpio, that's kind of like basically like how you feel nurtured, how you nurture others, and it's through your depth, through your honesty, through your loyalty, and you need that in return. You need that trust, and you're able to actually have that same energy in your career, which gets you to far places. It takes you far because you have integrity, and that's also very one of the really good parts of the Saturn rising, integrity. Um, Third house Jupiter gives you the gift of gap. I think I already mentioned that, kind of though. Second house Chiron in Pisces. Chiron is the wound. It trines Jupiter, so or Venus, excuse me. So Venus is like really like you. That's like really good for self-love. Um, and just like I don't know if art like anything artistic is in your life like a part, like so, like if you do like for example like anything that's related to creativity in any way, right? Like for other people, like um it really has an impact. So that's very cool. Okay. So yeah, Chiron in Pisces, there's deep spiritual wounds that need to be uncovered through a deep spiritual journey within. And second house Chiron, I always relate to, learning to love the body, and there can be like a mistrust of the body. It can be like early self-esteem issues. Um, and it's really like, the gift of learning to love the self. But more importantly in Pisces, um, that is like, the spiritual healer. Pisces is Chiron, like once the person kind of moves past those wounds, they can really open up new avenues that they didn't even know are possible in relation to um their potential to really, really touch people that way. Okay. So yeah, with Juno in Libra, relationships, you want something very fair but also very free with Moon Sag. Um, the one thing with the square with Uranus is you have to watch out for this tendency to be such a rebel that even if someone gives, let's say like someone gives you advice, um like some people with this, they can be so rebellious that even if the advice is actually very sound advice, they will just be like, nah, you know, and that they can pass out on opportunities that are actually good, just because yeah, they're rebels, rebels without a cause. So that's, it's important to know, because I've met a lot of people that were unconscious of that for a lot of their life, and they realize, like, oh, I am like that, and then they start to kind of look at it closer, and it leads to good things generally. That understanding. And the part of fortune is in Pisces. That's nice, in the second house. So you experience your greatest joy when you are going towards that north node, really like experiencing that. Oh geez, I could just tell my eyes are red. Oh, I'm gonna stay strong. The greatest joy is, when you are having that spiritual relationship with yourself, right? And yeah, just like compassionate service to humanity gives you the greatest, like, that's your flow state. And developing a set of values, which as a Libra you need, like, and then you answer yes or no, or you accept invitations. Like in human design, we talk about, like, invitations, and waiting for the right ones. If you're, like, unless you're like a manifestor or something, which is only 8% of the population, or I guess for the majority of people, right? Um, so yeah. Um, Also, one other thing about Chiron second house is there's the fear of, like, financial loss, financial insecurity. Um, so yeah, I already talked about, like, pretty much everything there. Okay, let's pull up the asteroids and fixed stars. Um, oh yeah, just besides that, with your your Mercury in Libra, I already talked about the diplomat, but I don't really like, arguments can really upset you. Like, you like things peaceful, right? And you can really put other people at ease through your voice. And the one I didn't talk about, yeah, your Venus in Scorpio, um, that will make you a very passionate lover, very romantic, with the conjunction with Neptune. Um, and it's like someone who's looking for a soulmate. They're not just looking for, like, whatever, they really want that depth, that real depth. They yearn for deep romance. But the thing also with Neptune is they search for the perfect partner, like fairy tale kind of energy, and they can become very disillusioned with the imperfections, right? That someone might bring. Um, so that's difficult. Um, but if you could have a partner where you guys, like, share, like, creative pursuits and all that kind of stuff, it's very Neptunian Venusian, or have like a similar kind of artistic understanding, that's really good. Um, yeah. So, mm, yeah, I mean, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, Venus and Scorpio are just intense when it comes to love, and sometimes it's just too much for some people, Um, but like I said, it's very well aspected, and the Neptune will add, it'll take away from that, like, scorpionic intensity, but then you have Mars there too. So, you're someone that loves very, very strong. But then the moon in Sag needs that freedom in love. You need to, like, still be, you can't be like dominated, in the sense of, like, you still need to be able to express your individuality and have freedom, but then also have that really deep closeness. it's kind of a interplay. We can hopefully talk more about that if we're able to do the follow-up in current astrology, or just the follow-up. And then let's see. Yeah, even the power, Pluto in the eighth house is that desire to just really unite with others, like on that like real deep level. Um, and it's also very, very prominent for metaphysics. And so is the eighth house Uranus. So yeah. All right, let's see the stars and the asteroids, and I'll get out of here. What am I doing time wise? Am I under 130? 125? I guess that's not that like impressive, but okay. So now I'm looking for anything extra. Any of the important fixed stars or asteroids conjunct any important planets or points. I have to stare into my computer deeply because there's so many I have stuck together. Virche conjunct IC. What do you know? I had one of these the other day. That means you come from a lineage of witches. I know that sounds crazy, but it is within 1 degree of your IC, which has to do with your tradition, like yeah, your lineage, you know. So Sirche, yeah, that runs through you. Witch energy. Which intuitively I was feeling through this chart. I was feeling like some real witch energy. So maybe that's like, yeah. Yeah. If you were to get like a follow-up or current astrology, you tell me that there's witches like in your family lineage, I'd be like, oh my God, blown away. Well, at this point, nothing surprises me, but that would be very interesting if that would be. Okay, so I'm not seeing much so far. Um, okay, there's one interesting for sure. Let's see. Ooh, actually, no, you're so lucky. You avoided the worst fixed star, Serpentis. For a second, I thought you had Mars conjunct Serpentis. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to like explain the possibilities, which aren't always bad, but still, it's not like what you want. Okay, I was like, this is so hard to stare into. I'm just gonna show you what I'm looking at so you understand the struggle of like what eyes I need for this. I'm trying to like determine what numbers are which. This is the sun moon midpoint. Okay, so this one. Okay, so you have Alphecca Venus, you have Psyche Moon, and you have that's the nothing with the Mars. In the midheaven? I mean the moon's on the midheaven. Wait. 2, 2, 4, 7. That's Lilith. 7, 4. Okay, well Lilith on the midheaven. Lilith is like it's not Black Moon Lilith, but that is like another very like witchy one. So you have like two of the three like witch energies on your angles. I see in midheaven. That's crazy. It's the woman that just does not take shit also from like men, like dominant woman, which is interesting because of what I said earlier about how the South Node in Capricorn, North Node in Cancer, how that could like, be like a recent like gender change. So that's fascinating. Um, okay, so yeah, so I think we saw 26. Yeah, so it's not on speaker. That's the closest one. Wait. Okay, that's whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, so Alpheka, um, aka Hetha, is that what it's called? I'm not sure. It's called. Let me search that actually. Is it Hessa? What's the name? Wait, I'm wrong. That's Al Ixtar Hessa is Aldemarine? No, it's the wrong one. Yeah, it's not it. Okay. Well, I can't remember. Something like that. I should ask my friend Julian, but whatever. Um, so yeah, anyways, Alpheka. So you have your Venus conjunct. How many degrees was it away? Like one. I can't tell you exactly. There's so many numbers for together, but yeah, pretty much like one. And basically Alpheka um is very artistic, very poetic. So you can imagine that when you have Venus there, it's um really, really good for artistic and musical taste. And it's also very favorable for love affairs. And as the ancients say, benefits from friends. So it's a nice star. It's a very nice star. Now Psyche with the moon, Psyche is a very interesting placement. Now you're gonna like what I'm gonna say because in a woman's chart, Psyche, and I have proof of this, Psyche conjunct the moon tends, usually Venus, but Venus and moon, according to my astrologer friend who has it conjunct, I think her moon, and she's literally 38 or 40, and she looks like she's 22. It's insane. So she told me, she said, if Psyche's conjunct the moon or Venus in a woman's chart, it keeps them looking young for a very, very long time. So that's very interesting. Now, besides that, you know, Psyche is what it sounds like. Um, it's about going, it's like divine feminine energy, right? It is psychic powers. So it makes one very, 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 very understanding of what lays beneath the surface. So, on your moon, it can give that emotional need to need to know more, right? To need to know more. Um, and basically, it relates like the understanding of the soul, right? And I think that I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one, and it really speaks to like where the soul feels at home, right? So it's very prominent in like synastry astrology, like the compatibility. I do those too. If you ever want to get a compatibility reading done. Oh my God, I got the worst voice crack. But yeah, I just think that it creates people who um on the moon who just go beneath the surface and who really want to understand human psychology, right? And what makes people tick beneath the surface. Because yes, it's psyche is the Greek word for soul, and it's on your moon, so you really want to understand your own psyche, your own emotions better. So yeah, it's very psychic too. Very, very psychic. Let me see if I can find anything else. Yeah, another keyword, expanding one's awareness and discover the true self, which has so much context too. All right, well, that is about it, right? Yeah, because you had so many conjunctions that were like between actual points. So like actual planets and points in your chart. So that's interesting. Okay, cool. Well, what? One second. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And 138. Not bad. Not bad at all. Thank you for your patience. It's been a crazy time. But I really appreciate it, and I hope that this reading was everything you wanted and more. I felt like I unlocked the cosmic key. Like I said, I saw your chart and I was like, "Yep, I know this one. Let's go." And I think I'm gonna start doing these like off camera more. I don't know, like when I'm figuring out the chart, like so many things are moving, and I don't know. I feel like there's times where it helps me to just be able to just have that complete freedom, to just like channel and just be like whatever, no rules. Anyways, thank you so much. So grateful. I hope we can get another session. If not, I completely understand. Everyone has their own financial stuff or, whatever. But my main thing, all I care about is that you enjoyed this reading and that this taught you some things and that you are happy that you got the reading. All right. Talk to you later. Ciao.